to you live from backstage at Freight Alley.
You are listening to What the Truck.
Good afternoon, Michael Vincent, and
Good afternoon, Dooner.
Good afternoon to everybody out there watching at home. Got you up on the LinkedIn. Let's get this position. There you go. There you lovely people are.
Beautiful.
Feed the rancor. Feed the tiger. By the way, man, some good news to start out with. All right.
Oh, really? All right. Cool.
I think because of coronavirus, everyone forgot that like April Fool's was going on, right?
I didn't realize it. My daughters tried to convince me that it was their birthday, was their April Fool's joke.
Okay. Well, the internet tried to convince people that Joe Exotic had the coronavirus.
Oh.
But according to his Facebook page, Joe Exotic does not have COVID-19 virus. He's only in a 14-day quarantine because he was transferred from another facility.
Well,
so
that is good news.
That is good news. Especially for all you...
That is very good news because I still haven't made it past episode 1. I fully intend to watch the entire series, Dooner, I promise. But I had some other things going on at home, so...
Nice. What did you have going on at home? Sorry, I'm just pulling up the comment.
No, just homeschooling. I got some home projects that I'm doing around the house, that type of stuff. So haven't gotten to it. By the time I have time to watch something like Joe Exotic, I'm beat and I'm just going to bed.
Good.
So.
Patrick Merg says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen." Hey, thanks for joining us, Patrick. Keep you right up here with us. Hey, you know what? So my kid's holding up. I just got them they've done all the puzzles, all the books we have at home. So I got this Mega Bloks Castle Grayskull. Sorry, honey, it's for my birthday. Mega Bloks Castle Grayskull, 3,500 piece.
Nice
construction thing. Yeah, it's going to take a while. It's going to keep us busy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good. Yeah. I'm busy playing Barbies and building a new swing set, that type of stuff for the kids. So that's what I've been doing. But hey, we got some great headlines, Dooner.
Yes, we do. But we got to pay the bills first.
That's right.
This week it is this month actually. TriumphPay. TriumphPay is the leading carrier payment platform in transportation. With over 50,000 carriers paid, TriumphPay helps to drive capacity, efficiency, and cash flow for brokers and shippers. Visit TriumphPay.com to learn more.
Yeah, now let's hit the deadlines, huh?
The deadlines.
Or headlines. Sorry about that.
All right, a lot of people have been wondering this one. Are grocery stores running out of food? So we saw the toilet paper. People have seen shortages on milk and butter, all those kind of things. Well, Linda Baker reports in today's pickup, weeks into the pandemic, bare shelves in grocery stores continue to trigger anxiety in Americans worried about possible food shortages. Grocery and warehouse workers testing positive for COVID-19 adds that alarm. But never fear. Although the pandemic is causing logistical headaches for producers and manufacturers, the U.S. is not going to run out of food anytime soon, experts say.
That's exactly right. The food is there. It's just going into different spots. David... what is it? McInerney, the chief executive of Fresh Direct, told the New York Times, now that cruise ships are not using up all the avocados, he observed, we have a giant surge of avocados. I love avocados, Dooner.
Do you really?
I absolutely do. They're awesome. They're a pain, though, because when you buy them, it's hard to figure out which ones are ready. So you buy it, you better eat it, because if it's not, like the next day it's done.
Well,
right?
Here's the thing.
They go fast, but
avocados do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But the supply chain is fine. It's not broken.
Well, here's the thing. In some cases, there's too much food. So we look at the disruption in the hotel, the entertainment industry. We look at events and all of these different things where food used to go to restaurants. All of those places now they're going to grocery stores. So it's creating all these huge disruptions in supply chain. Land O'Lakes being one of the companies. They're part of one of these cooperatives and they deal with the dairy industry, right?
Right.
They have seen its members have to dump a lot of this milk. So to the consumer, you go to the grocery store, you're like, man, it looks like there's only a couple gallons at 2%. They're putting restrictions on how much I can buy. But it turns out it's just that supply chain adjusting. They're actually dumping gallons and gallons and gallons of milk. Yeah,
it's the supply chain disruption. The supply chain was built to have it to be as efficient as possible, cost-effective, efficient, get what we need when we need it there, just-in-time type of stuff, right? It wasn't built to a what if, and certainly not a what if like we're experiencing right this second. It's not broken, but so they have to deal with the panic, the fear buying that happened, right, and restock, and now they're dealing with the fear of the oh no, we're running out of food. We're not.
Yeah,
we're not
actually, and milk purchases were up 53% for the week ending March 21st, with butter sales surging 127%. Cream cheese rose more than 84% compared to the same year earlier. So we're seeing a lot of different disruptions going on. By the way, for those of you watching on the LinkedIn feed, I noticed that it did drop out, and I think that we are just pulling right back up right now. So
excellent.
Apologize for that disruption. You can see the full version of this after we're done, and good for you. We only just got to one headline. We were talking about milk.
We did.
And
now
butter.
we're moving on to Delta Airlines to manufacture face shields, right? So Eric Kulish reports for FreightWaves, in-house production shop retools to provide coronavirus protective equipment. Now, Delta Airlines and others we've talked about is using their passenger flights strictly as cargo, right?
Yeah.
For as mini freighters, I suppose, is what the term was. But also, the company announced April 2nd that its Delta Flight Products subsidiary will produce face shields in collaboration with the Global Center for Medical Innovation to protect hospital workers from COVID-19.
You know, a couple weeks ago when we were talking about all of this, we were saying it's going to be exciting to see some of the changes that happen and the good that comes from this. And I just love the way the supply chain has reacted in a lot of places. Even hockey companies like Bauer are starting to make face shields. They're stepping
I saw
up.
that. Bauer, right?
Yeah, the hockey company.
It's really cool. It's it's unbelievable with the nationwide, the personal protective equipment, obviously in short because of the immediate demand for it.
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, even auto manufacturers are getting in on the game, which is awesome. And I've kind of likened it to, is this the Rosie the Riveter of World War II?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just everybody's stepping up. And
Everybody's stepping up, and it's
shortages
really,
in green or red paint, whatever that was.
Yeah, Delta's the latest example of companies, right? As we talked about, General Motors, for example, ventilators, so on and so forth. So the face shields help extend the useful life of the N95 masks, which are in low supply right now because of immediate demand. So we're producing those and bringing those in.
And you may have seen President Trump put a tweet out talking about how 3M and a lot of other countries are also putting these restrictions, but on the export of these face masks because healthcare professionals and we ourselves, you try to go to a store and buy one, you're not going to be able to find an N95 mask. Actually, if you've been on Amazon and you've been lucky enough to find them in stock, when you actually go to check out with it, it says you can't because you're not a healthcare professional.
I haven't tried to do that myself.
Well, let's stay on.
No idea.
Let's stay on food. Let's stay on food here. So food carriers.
We'll go back to it. Yeah.
Food carriers stay hungry for special overweight permits. John Gallagher reports that President Donald Trump's national emergency declaration on March 13th set in motion a wave of special overweight permits issued by individual states that are making a critical difference in helping carriers of food and other supplies respond to this COVID-19 crisis. According to the Retail Industry Association, most states have relaxed their weight restrictions to allow loaded trucks weighing over the federal 80,000-pound limit to travel on interstate highways within the states. State control limits on non-interstate roads with overweight allowances ranging anywhere from 1,000 pounds to 8,000 pounds or more. And this is a good thing.
It is a good thing. If it's used wisely, it's absolutely a good thing. And while certain types of freight can fill a truck's cargo space, what you have is it overweights before you fill out the cube. Right.
By the way, check this out. Hold on one second here.
Yeah.
Casey Ballman, Executive Vice President of HR and Recruiting at HMD Trucking, says, my mother is 66 years old and a retired seamstress, and she is making fabric face masks for emergency workers all over the country. So just awesome to hear that.
Yeah, there's people stepping up all over the place. It's awesome.
So
it's
dim
awesome.
freight.
But yeah, so I mean, what it is you can, before you cube out a trailer and can't physically fill that space with a cube, it'll wait out with these heavy things like food, etc. And so by relieving these weight limitations, they'll actually get more on these trucks that can fill out that cube a little bit better, right? People in LTL know this. I started my career in LTL. I ran a section of the dock in Toledo, Ohio for Roadway Express called the Pike, and you can run, at that time you could run about 2,500 pounds an axle more on the turnpike from Toledo all the way through to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We'd pull in trailers coming in from Chicago Heights going east all the time and just add 5, 6, 7,000 pounds, 10,000 more to these trailers to fit more stuff in it. And that's what this is doing. They're getting more product on these, which is great.
It reminds me of what Dan Schul said here as the state director of the Missouri Grocers Association. He was like, there is nothing more frustrating these days than opening the back of the truck at the warehouse dock or at the retailer and finding out that you could have put more crap in there, right? You could have put more pallets of food. You're seeing these shortages. And now, even though nationally there may not be a food shortage, by the time it hits the grocery store and the supply chain, and it's not just like hoarding or panic buying, it's people are just surging to grocery stores. They're doing more buying.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And that's what we were talking about earlier with the food and the disruption and, oh no, we're out of food. It's the disruption, and I'm trying to catch back up with it. And now they got to deal with the fear of when you walk in and there's nothing on that shelf. Well, if there's something there, I better buy it.
Yeah, we just went through all this optimization companies did over the past decade of not having these many goods on site. And then there were some companies who were like, you know what, we're actually going to bring more goods on site so we can act as our own retail distribution centers. But a lot of companies still aren't there, so they really only have enough space for whatever they thought demand was going to bring at that point in time.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The discussion that you see now online, and you're talking about the supply chains and just-in-time and optimization, et cetera, is do we need to build in more what-ifs? And at what cost is that to your normal daily operating? When we get back to normal, sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Yeah.
How do you account for this type of thing happening in the future? Is it? I kind of think it'll be somewhere along the lines of where we need to hit this is rethinking the supply chain, or a little bit better collaborative so you can respond a little bit better, but also public awareness and public education as to actually what's going on and people paying attention to what is going on, and not this fear that, hey, we're out of food, I better buy everything up right this absolute second. If everybody just chill out just a little bit and listen, the food is there. It's coming.
It does show how great these demand and inventory planning systems are, though, that you almost never notice these shortfalls until these demand surges actually happen. So that's pretty cool to think about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
All right,
absolutely right.
We got to make a call out now. Who are we going to dial up to?
Oh, who are we calling? Daniel, how do I pronounce this? Agamez, National Director of Operations.
Nice.
Is that who we're talking to?
Yeah, National Director of Operations at Lean Staffing.
Yeah, Operations and Implementation at Lean Staffing.
By the way, LinkedIn Live, I am not sure what's going on there. I'm not seeing the comments, though.
Huh.
Hello?
Hey, Daniel, this is Dooner and the Dude with What the Truck. How are you doing?
All good. How are you guys?
We're doing great.
Great. How are you, Daniel?
Doing great as well.
Nice.
Working from home nowadays.
Oh, are you in Colombia as well, like many of your team?
Yes, I am.
Now, when I talked to them, when did we talk to them, Mike? Last week or 2 weeks ago? They said
I think 2 weeks ago, I think, yeah.
They said things weren't that bad in Colombia, and not everyone had really been self-quarantined. Has that changed at all, Daniel, in the past 2 weeks? Have things progressively gotten worse or better?
Well, thankfully in Colombia, the situation is not as bad as many other countries that there's a lot of infected people due to COVID-19, but we do have stronger regulations now. Everyone has been self-quarantined for two weeks now, I think. And it's foreseeable that the month of April would still require everyone to be quarantined up pretty much for the month of April, even possible to finish in May. The levels are, there's still a lot of people that are being tested, but it hasn't gone out of hand so far. So, we're still looking forward to seeing, what the government's going to do in this regard. But so far, the situation is simple.
Great. Well, with everyone working from home, how are you handling quality assurance to make sure productivity is not impacted?
Yeah, that's a great question. Quality is, it's a vital part of our process. It's pretty much the heart of our company. So we've implemented for every operation with our clients different strategies that are covering their operation, volume-wise and as well as quality and quantity of the work. So what we currently do is with the KPIs that we already had in place, we've boosted those KPIs and having daily meetings with the teams, having the quality department reaching out to everyone closely, following up on volume. I know that our industry has been impacted heavily because of the COVID-19. A lot of people depending on most countries like China for their imports. So we're being very vigilant on volume, and then we cross-reference that with the daily work that they receive. We've created and we've updated every single KPI to be more detailed in terms of work structure. That way we're daily sending our clients what was worked during the day, so they can go back and verify how their volume working, how their employees are doing from home. So we've got a pretty great response from the staff here in Colombia. So far, none of our clients have been affected in terms of quality of work.
Wow, so Americans in most of the world are in the middle of the world's largest work-from-home experiment. This means that a lot of offices who were very, previously very resistant to work-from-home policies, they really wanted to have optics on their workers, they wanted to see people there. Has this changed how companies are looking at a nearshoring service like Lean Staffing? Are they learning anything from this experiment?
Well, it has. I will say this every time that we're onboarding new clients to our company. The fact that you just decide to offshore your operation to Colombia, that's a leap of faith that people are taking. Most of our clients, they hadn't done that before. They hadn't done it in the past. And now that they do it, it's a leap of faith. And now, moving your operations from an office facility to their homes is also something that, caught everyone off guard per se. But seeing the fact that we still manage the network, that we still manage the staff, that quality has stepped up, and that our operations and our management team are moving forward to to closely follow up on what they do and provide the same type of assistance to daily calls to supervisors and managers and staff members, have shown that the fact is not location, it's the quality of what you do. So you could be, wherever, as long as you have a great staffing and operations vendor, you're going to do great. So it's pretty much in a management now.
Yeah. So, Daniel, with this going on, it sounds like you've got some great tools, and people are managing productivity quite well. Is that right?
Yes, we do. So we have our own internal QMS, and we also manage our clients' QMS as well. So we logging every day to various tools and various follow-up systems, such as Ambition, Power BI, the Microsoft tools, and our internal spreadsheets. So we do have a lot of tools at our disposal that keep us connected to everything that's being done during the day, and we're able to pull the data by the end of the day. In our constant meetings, we analyze the data, and then we go back or we tackle or just put flags on whatever needs to be flagged in the moment.
So you're measuring the KPIs for those companies, and are you adjusting those and having those tailored specifically for those customers' needs as you onboard them?
Exactly. Every KPI that we manage is tailored to every operation. So we do not run just on universal, even though that most in our industry, most KPIs are followed because of volume or quality of time response. So based on that universal standard, then we go to what your operation actually needs. And then that's how we, construct and build up those KPIs for each client.
Excellent.
Yeah. Hey, Brian Deal in the comments on Facebook, he writes, drivers are the salt of the earth, Godspeed. No doubt. Norman Lanier, what the truck? Got to go watch you guys one day. Yeah, of course, when they allow everyone to hang out again. Hey, so Daniel, how do people reach out and learn more about lean staffing?
You can go to our website at leanstaffing.com, or you can rather see our CEO, Robert Lean Staffing, or myself at Daniel at leanstaffing.com. And we'll be always 24/7 available and ready to provide information and assistance.
Great. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
We really appreciate
Thank
your
you,
time
Daniel.
today. Stay safe and God bless, my man. Well, nice to have him on and hearing about
absolutely.
what's doing in these challenging times. I'm really excited for the next call we're going to make, though. It's to Mac Pinkerton. And now he is the president
this is going to be great.
of C.H. Robinson's North American Surface Transportation Division. He's been with them for, I think almost like 27 years at this point. So he has been through a number of different situations, crises, all of these different things from 9/11 to the recession in 2008 to this situation now. So it's going to be great to hear his perspective.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. You giving him a call right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, hey, one quick thing, really cool. I look at all the different updates on coronavirus and what's going on. I get a ton of emails and do a lot of research and things like that. But one thing I saw was interesting was in Fortune's the capsule. Right?
Yeah.
So the headline was coronavirus is literally shaking up how the world moves, right? And so instantly I'm like, ooh, logistics. Let me look at this and see what it is, right? Not the case.
Yeah.
Not the case. Belgian scientists see a reduction in seismic noise because of the home sheltering.
Just like us as people are just not making as much rumbling.
Trucks, absolutely. Yeah, so they're able to monitor seismic activity, earthquakes, tectonic plate movement, volcanoes, that type of stuff much more clearly presently because of the home. I thought that was just an interesting thing that was out there.
By the way, folks on LinkedIn Live, we apologize for some of the errors there. I don't know. The feed on that has died a couple times, but we do have you up on Facebook. So if you want to jump over there, I can be more than happy to look at your comments.
Well, that's another thing. Zoom from 10 million users last month to 200 million this month.
Yeah, creating a lot of problems, though. Zoom bombing, people jumping into chat rooms, trolls.
Absolutely.
I actually tried to set up a family conference call, and my dad was a little bit nervous about that. He's like, I heard these were all these back doors and flaws. And what's funny is I started researching that a little bit, And there was articles back in January of them also fixing some other security flaw. But it seems like the same exact ones are what are being exposed now. Yeah. So I don't know if it actually ever got fixed.
Yeah, well, they may have run out of time to actually test those fix or those
or broke something else.
Yeah, or broke something else when you go from 10 million to 200 million.
Well, the thing with cyber hacking, too, is that a lot of times when hackers get in there or they put in the ransomware or whatever, they also create backdoors for themselves. So you pay them off, you think you got them out. Unless you fully wipe the systems and clean them and have backups in the cloud or whatever it may be, you could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, you absolutely can. You absolutely can.
All right, let's call Mac up. Let's see what he's doing, what's going on in his part of the world.
Now trending in supply chain.
Mac.
We got him dialing.
He should be coming up. We had just confirmed beforehand.
We did.
We did.
Hey, Robinson.
There
hey, is this Mac Pinkerton?
Nope, Mac's he's not here.
Oh, okay. He's supposed to be we're on a live radio show right now with FreightWaves with Dooner in the tune on What the Truck. I'm not sure. Well, hey, it's live radio, so I don't know. We'll have to reschedule with him. But thank you for your time.
Wow.
All right. Well,
there you go.
I'm not sure we can talk about what he was going to talk about and some of these ideas.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. They were going to talk about what C.H. Robinson is doing to support carriers during the COVID-19 crisis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wish we had him on here. Let me pull up an article here.
Yeah, because I don't fully know what they were going to be doing. Do it. I mean, and they also said, can you speak to why it is important to advocate for keeping truck stops and rest stops open and functioning right now? We can speak to that. I mean, that's what keeps America moving, right? Keeping the trucks moving, keeping the freight flowing. And as we hear, it's getting tougher and tougher because they're not necessarily closing down the rest stops, but they're just making it more difficult and more challenging to actually utilize the services there within.
Yeah, they definitely are, and even with the and we've got a ton of different comments, et cetera. But just the social distancing or limiting the number of people that are coming into the truck stops, right?
Yeah,
is kind of crazy when you're talking about you go to a what is in Texas a Buc-ee's and they're massive, and so they are accounting for the people per square foot.
Hi, this is Daniel. Sorry, I missed your call.
Oh man, see, I was trying to call Mr. Supply Chain too, because I wanted to harass him. He's been telling us about the bullwhip effect with the toilet paper.
Yeah.
So I was going to reach out to him to see what the deal is with the bullwhip effect with the why there's still no toilet paper.
We do. The other thing we wanted to talk to him about was the St. Christopher's Fund, right?
Yeah.
And do we have that where they can go to make people to contribute?
I don't know if you pull it up on our previous sheet. That would be great.
Let me see if I have.
We're dancing for it. I wish we could have had Mac on. I'm not really sure what happened because we were supposed to have that. We're supposed to have that scheduled with him. I know that we're going to be talking to Andrew Cox in just a second here. If he could come down to the studio, that would be awesome.
We are. Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about, so he's going to talk about the power index and stuff like that. And when he comes down, we'll definitely jump him right in as soon as possible. But so I was
anyone in the building, if you want to come down to FreightWaves. I know there's only a few of you, but if you want to come down here and talk to us, feel free to come on What the Truck Live. We've been 0 for 2. Yeah, I'm going to try one more person. I'm going to try my boy Jamin Alvarez.
Do it.
I'm going to dial him up.
Give him some.
See if he's available. Well, you think people would be a little bored at home right now?
You would think so. They're all busy working, which is good. Making stuff happen.
This is an excellent podcast. Thank you all for tuning in.
It's the best one ever.
Anybody upstairs you want to come down, feel free. Hey, Jamin.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man, you're on What the Truck with Tuner and the Dude.
What's going on, Jamin?
Shot in the dark, man. Thought we'd dial out to you.
Hey. Yeah, I miss the call and don't pick up when it's planned, but when it's unplanned, hey.
Yeah,
that's right away.
That's how we get you. So,
Yeah.
hey, Jamin, so last time we talked to you was at the beginning of last month, right, when they had canceled the Journal of Commerce event, right, the TPM? And this was sort of
in Long Beach.
It was right when America first started taking the coronavirus seriously. How have things changed there in the past month? I know that for a long time was sort of the epicenter of things. We're hearing a lot more about New York now, but what are conditions like there, and how are you holding up?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for asking. First off, I'm good and fortunate to already have had a work from home cadence and enjoy it. So I feel fortunate there. It's wild you say a month or so ago, because not even trying to be funny, that seems like a year ago. It's amazing. And so I think out here, what you're seeing a lot of is, as silly as this sounds, I think even in the last, week and a half, people are starting to understand, oh, this is a serious deal. And I believe the term's been a little overused, but it just applies. The new normal. I think people are starting to settle in a little more and take it a little more serious. Even just a couple weekends ago, the beaches here were slammed on the weekend. And so it's almost like they thought social distancing only applied to work and like weekdays. But now that has changed, and the beaches, even aside from some additional enforcement, but a little more empty. Fewer people are trying to skirt around things and go into the office. So I think we're starting to understand the seriousness of it, and I'm going to count that as a positive.
There's a huge echo effect going on right now, because we didn't all react at once as a nation, right? We mentioned it happened over in Washington and in California and in New York, and it was only just yesterday that Tennessee just put a order in place, right, Michael?
That's exactly right.
And someone on the line, they likened it to having a peeing section in a swimming pool, to only lock down some of the, or like there used to be smoking sections in restaurants. Like, you're still getting hit by this stuff. But you
I love it.
You have been under more stringent controls than I guess the rest of the nation. So for those of us who are just starting to enter shelter in place, how has that changed life at all?
Yeah, it's made me a little more mindful of, and again, I'm going to go on the positive side of it, right? Like, it's made me more mindful of intentionally reaching out to people by phone or Zoom or text. I had noticed that I'd been a little complacent with just checking in on people when times were quote unquote good. And so, being a little more stringent, you can't even, the parks are shut down and stores, you're lining up before you can go in. So definitely day-to-day life was changed, and you just find yourself thinking a little bit more about things you might have taken for granted, and making sure that people are okay, or connecting, and just finding other ways to feel normal, if you will, or to commiserate. So that's been the biggest thing for me. And then just the day-to-day things like, oh, hey, got to pop over to the grocery store to get this, or, oh, man, need to get a new shirt or something. There's not just popping into a store. So it's really changed even the habits of buying and how I arrange my day. You just are really mindful of the simple things that maybe would have been overlooked before.
Yeah, excellent points, Jamin. I find myself doing the same thing. When I would think about somebody, when times were good, you'd be like, you just kind of let that thought go. Now you don't. You act on those, right? And when you see somebody out with proper social distancing, there's more people, how are you doing? And they sincerely want to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not just a greeting like, hey, how you doing, going by. It's hey, how are you?
Yeah,
Is
but
the family
you gotta
okay?
like shout across the room at them.
Yeah, but it's still, even though you're not close, the sincerity is there, right?
No, man, everyone's doing
Which
these
is nice.
these Zoom family conferences now, just like companies are doing. This is translating to personal life because we're social beings, and I think now we're finally going to be ushered into that point in society where video calls are way more normal than just having audio calls. People are starting to get used to it. They've all set up Skype or Zoom or whatever it may be on their computers. Hey, Jamie, before we let you go, what do you, just to the audience if they're not familiar, what do you do for business, and how has that changed at all since the coronavirus hit?
Yeah, so I represent a company, RDS, Rail Delivery Services and Rail Delivery Services Logistics. They do regional truckloads, they own the assets, cross-dock, and then a brokerage piece. And, it's we service a wider range of customers, so I've just noticed that I have to be empathetic and nimble in my conversations. One size fits one, because I'll talk to one customer and their business is booming, and the conversation, has to be around, hey, how do we help you in this time when you have a lot of volume? and then the very next call, 30 seconds later, it's someone who's in a quote-unquote non-essential business, and their business is completely dried up, and your conversation is more humane and just kind of how to be a sounding board and not necessarily trying to pump them for business. So it's engaging empathy and just knowing who you're talking to and where they're at, and then speaking to them in the way that's going to help them. And it's cliche, but I think it's true. It's focusing really on the business side of it secondarily and thinking more long term than just like, hey, what do you have on your dock today?
Yeah. Yeah, solid stuff.
Being the solution provider, building that relationship, that trust, and the long advisor, right? That relationship.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a great time for starting relationships, fostering relationships right now, and just being there for one another.
Well, Jamin, thank you so much for being there for us when we need you, for picking up the phone when we made that call and letting us hear your voice and letting us know that you are that you're okay, dude. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you both. Take care.
Thanks, Jamin.
Wow, good stuff. See, he always comes in the pinch. He's one of the most solid guys on LinkedIn.
Hey,
you
so
can follow.
real quick, because I brought it up and then I flopped on it. Was the St. Christopher Truckers Relief?
Yes,
I pulled it up. Right. So the fund is the Mid American. Well, it was one of the biggest fundraisers for it was the Mid American Truck Show. So. It helps truck drivers facing financial challenges due to illness or injury is what it does. It's a fund to help out truck drivers and their families. Last year they distributed $487,000, so almost $500,000 to 344 truckers and their families. So it's extremely important, right? Yeah. And so what you can do to help them, because their biggest fundraiser was the Mid-American Trucking Show. It's not happening. So if you go to truckersfund.org, is where you need to go to help this great fund. Right. There you go, brother.
Gotta give a little cowbell for that.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about why rates may be in the rearview mirror with Andrew Cox. He's coming on stage. Hey, Andrew. What's up, man? By the way, Brad Reinhardt, he says, good afternoon, guys. Brad Reinhardt, he says, good afternoon, guys. Brad at Gorilla Logistics checking. Be safe to all out there. Yeah, thanks, Brad. We will do our best, right?
Hey, let's.
Keeping safe, Andrew Cox?
Yeah, I got to stay away from you, man.
I know. It's hard. It's like, there's one here and there's one here. So we're going to talk about DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index, and Seth Holm is putting out an article calling rates are in the rearview mirror. Why would that be?
Well, because it seems like everything has peaked. So we had this volume frenzy that kind of ensued on the back half of March, where we had volumes 30% over the next highest peak we've ever had. We had capacity tightening really quickly. We had, not only because we had some drivers leaving to get off the road to be with their families and try to stay away from the virus, but also because carriers were taking advantage of the spot market. They understood that they could get better rates there, so they were denying contracted rates. That was one of the reasons you saw our outbound tender rejection rate spike up. But both of those things are behind us. They're actually falling quicker than they rose, both volumes and rejections. If you look at the 10 days since the peak of volumes, we've dropped, I think, 15% on the outbound tender volume index, and in that 10 days preceding the peak, we were only up, I think, 11%. So you think things are really returning to normal at a faster rate than they rose up.
Yeah, but they're still elevated, though.
Yeah, no, that's also true.
The steepness of the decline is greater than the steepness of the ascent.
Correct,
but we're still pretty high. Do you have it off the top of your head?
Yeah, I think we're at like 11.2.
Still 11.2,
which is higher than it's higher than the 2018 peak in the summer, which was the best freight market in years. So yeah, we're still elevated. That's why the pricing power index is still on the side of the carriers. We've fallen down 5 points from its all-time high at 65. Now at 60. So the carriers are still in control because we have elevated volumes and still some pretty tight capacity, but it's loosening up very quickly.
Right.
Hey, when you're on the coronavirus freight market update, you talked about unemployment, right? 6.6 million, huge number. How does that play into freight volumes, though? Because a lot of times the truckers will see that stuff and they go, well, why do I care about that? Or why do I care about this? Why is this so important and so vital?
Well, for a couple of reasons. One, you got to see that if people are, even before people get laid off, people are changing their consumer habits. We've seen consumer spending overall down in the U.S. down 30% or so year over year in the back half of March. So people are buying less goods, and they're not only buying less goods because they're in need of less things, but they have no place to go buy things. Everything that they normally would go and spend things on besides groceries and consumer staples, things that they have to have, are no longer available to them. So if those places aren't selling goods, those truckers no longer need to replenish the goods at those stores. So you see that, 95% of the retailers and stores that would be open at this time of the year are now closed and are not moving any freight at all.
Yeah, and some of those goods that people are going out to buy, like, so I did this the other day, right? I'm redoing a swing set for my daughters in the backyard, right? So I was going to go price out the lumber.
Redoing it. So how'd you screw it up the first time?
No, it's just they've grown. It's been in the ground for it needs to be replaced.
Okay.
It needs to be replaced. So I'm replacing it, right? So I'm going to do it myself. I got plans and all that kind of stuff. So I go to Home Depot. Drive by, I'm gonna price out the lumber,
right.
And there's a line of 60 people out the door because they're only allowing so many people in. So I just continue on my way. So there's some of that happening too, right? Just forget it. I'll just some other time.
No, I think the same thing will happen in grocery stores too.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking just yesterday, my girlfriend, we needed some chicken, and she went to Walmart, and there was a line out the door, and she just decided, you know what, we'll get tacos or something. We'll get them to take out.
Yeah.
We just completely ignored it because the Signal Mountain Walmart, because they're doing the same thing. They're limiting the amount of people that go in.
Are they? I haven't been there in weeks.
This was yesterday. I think they started it yesterday.
Oh, they probably saw Chad Prevost in there with his bandana mask on and got a little nervous. I love you, Chad. Stay safe out there, dude. So long-term prognosis of this, though, so rates, probably not a great recovery. This index had looked like crap up until a while ago. It jumped up to 65. It's at 60 now. That's when it favors the carriers. You guys see it falling back down, though?
Yeah, I think this was a sugar rush for the carriers. I think they very quickly they were able to increase their rates. They had they had more volume than most of them could handle for the most part. But that was a really short-lived rush, and we're going to have that sugar hangover for the next couple of months. I think, especially as the economy is still continued to slow to a complete halt. Most of the businesses are down. People aren't spending as much money. There's just not going to be as much freight. We've talked about, ad nauseum the last couple of weeks about what percentage of freight is insulated from the downturn, and we think it's something like 40%. So that means 60% of the truckload freight is going to be completely static. So that leans me to think that the carriers are going to be hurting here, a lot of them in the next couple months. So
what do you think about the effects of when we talk about the repurposing, manufacturers are repurposing what they're doing. So does that
Bauer, right? With the
like
face
Bauer and General Motors. So you're not hauling auto parts, but now you're hauling ventilators from General Motors. Do we have any grasp of what effect that is, or just hey, it's some type of positive, but we really don't know yet? It's too early.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I don't have any exact data on what percentage of industrial capacity is being switched over and they're producing other things, but in my mind, it's probably a really small percent. I mean, think about the only names we're hearing that are doing these kind of switchovers are the major, massive manufacturers. There's plenty and thousands of other smaller manufacturers that produce things that we don't really think about. That are not able to repurpose their manufacturing process. Like, we hear GM and Tesla and these like major manufacturers, but there's plenty of small guys that are right now just completely closed, and they're not, and they will be for the foreseeable future. So I think that the replacement demand of other goods that we're needing for medical supplies is actually pretty small compared to the
it'll have
production.
an effect, but
I don't think it'll really move the needle.
Mover.
Yeah.
Well, I think it shows more now too, and as we've seen on our other shows, interacting with audiences every day. You and I are, Michael.
Yeah.
And starting next week, we'll be at noon. Every one of our shows, our live shows, will be at noon. So the coronavirus free market update, what the truck, put that coffee down. I know, we just made it easier. It's too hard if it's like one show's at 1 and another one's at 2.
Yeah.
We just start them at noon now, right? And we're going to run with it. So
there you go.
Mark that on your calendars. What was I going to say here? Oh, heck, Alex O'Egan, he said, what kind of timeline are you looking at before we hit this cliff?
Are we talking about a freight cliff?
Yeah.
I think we're already hitting it.
We're going down it right now.
We've already hit it. Yeah. The peak was about 10 days ago in volumes, and we've just fallen significantly since then.
Yeah.
If the trend continues, I think that we see another, by the time we do the DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index by next Thursday, I think we'll see volumes somewhere around the 10,500 range, which is, in my mind, what we would expect normally around this time.
Yeah, that would be about a normalized market right now.
Right. So I think we'll see that. So, and that's shedding another 6-7% before we get to that point, and I think it will fall even further. I think at the end of April we're looking below normal levels.
His question highlights something really important to bring up here, though, and it was one that was brought up to us where someone was like, "Wow, our rates are down 30%. I can't find freight anymore." And this is how important freight market visibility tools are. Having a proper tech stack where you have load boards so you can make these pivots and adjustments to move those ventilators instead of hockey pucks or whatever the hell it was you did before. There are companies, the ones that react are the ones that are going to survive, and the decisions they make now are what are going to decide if they live or die. And if you are living off old data, if you're living off old spot rates, and that's why some people may have these questions, like when's it falling off a cliff?
That's right.
And they may not
They
know it
don't have
already
the
has.
visibility.
They're living in last week.
That's exactly right. And you're reading my mind, because where I was going with this is overall the volumes are coming down. They're still elevated, but it's going to fragment. Right, and it's all over the place, because we talk about we're already coming down the cliff, and it's steeper than the ascent was, right? And we're going to hit this normalized in a couple weeks, right? Back down to where we think we would be, right? But when you look at Sonar and you look at the volumes that are out there, right? Some of the markets that were up day over day as far as volumes were Atlanta, L.A., Stockton, Lakeland, Denver, Phoenix, Seattle, Cincinnati, Portland, even New Orleans. Volumes up. Mm-hmm. Those are not small markets. They're fairly decent sized markets, and they were up. And then the other part of it for the carriers and the brokers that are out there, and even the shippers to be mindful of, is it doesn't mean that just because volumes are coming down and overall and rejections are coming down, the volatility within each of those different markets and on those lanes is worse than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's changing on a daily basis. So keeping up with that is important to find those opportunities of where can I get, where's my next market that I'm going to put freight on my truck to move it, right? And in which lanes.
Right. There's another thing in play that kind of piggybacks on that, is that a lot of different regions and different cities are in different phases of their coronavirus battle.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about it, I think, on the coronavirus update yesterday, is that New York will probably recover before other places. But, there's going to be places that haven't even really been hit hard that will be hit harder in the next couple of weeks. So tracking freight volumes and looking at how the freight volumes are moving in those different regions will give carriers a big insight into where they need to be.
Absolutely. And staying abreast of these different things, of who is retooling and providing different things. We were talking to Bob Poulos at V3 Transportation. It seems like a year ago. It was yesterday.
Yes.
And so they switched their model. And they didn't switch their model, but they went off after industries that they normally wouldn't, and they're surviving this, and they're keeping drivers moving. I think they had to shed some, but they've been stable and doing decent by making that. And so that's what drivers has to look at is what else can I be hauling if I'm not hauling this? Where are the hot spots? What is coming up? And hey, if GM is making ventilators, maybe I can get some loads out of there.
Yeah. Hey, Andrew Cox, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Andrew.
Appreciate your time.
The other thing in that is Zach and I yesterday on freight forecasting, we're going through, how you look at exports out of China or Europe or wherever it is, and how it hits the ports, and then the inland transportation, surface transportation. And, so we're talking about things dropping, et cetera. Well, another example is from L.A., or not even L.A., all markets into Chicago, 40-foot intermodal boxes on the rail coming into the Chicago market over the last 3 days is up 30%.
Wow. Speaking about going where to get your pickups, Hector Padelier says that's when you go to Lowe's. He was referencing you saying that you saw that big line at...
I would have had to turn around, and it was already late. At
the Home Depot. I think it was Shrek where they called it Home Despot. I thought that was...
Home Despot.
That was hilarious.
That's bad news and good news.
All right.
Oh, let's see. And Emily is saying that we may be back up on LinkedIn. Wow, what a journey we've been on.
Just in time.
Thank you all for joining us. Yeah, just in time for good news, bad news.
Yeah.
So the good news is we're back up on LinkedIn. The bad news is that there's only, an hour still left in the show. But let's see what she's talking about. What comments were there here?
An hour left.
CM Evans. I know she could have given me the comments in Slack, but she's sending me here. CM Evans. Are the difference between TL and LTL visible on the tender rejection graphs?
Say that again. The difference.
He says the difference between truckload and LTL visible on the tender rejection graphs.
Can you see the difference in the tender rejections on it? No, it is truckload, but there are plenty of ways to understand what is happening in the LTL market through the truckload market, and especially in pricing and pressures on spot market volume contracts, et cetera. So there's plenty of uses in the LTL by monitoring the data that is in Sonar, and not just the tender rejections and outbound tender volumes. There's all the different macro and microeconomic indicators that are in there, and the rail movements and the import movements and the growths and that type of stuff that are very strong indicators of what the LTL markets are looking like.
Nice. Hope that helped. So good news, bad news, right? Good news. On March 26th, a driver from Titanium Transportation Group picked up a truckload from, we were just talking about him, the Home Depot in Cambridge, Ontario, and delivered it more than 300 miles away to Canada's capital in the great place of Ottawa. Neither the load or the destination was ordinary, though. The truckload of N95 face masks went to Federal Emergency Response Depot as a part of the COVID-19 pandemic. As usual, Home Depot donated the masks to the and transported them free of charge. Only the driver got paid. They said it was a small gesture, but it felt good to help. The bad news is we need more masks.
We need more.
Yeah,
we
that's
need
just
more
the
people
bad
to do
news.
that. The good news is that they did this.
Yeah.
The bad news is we need everybody to do this today.
We do.
We need more and more, and we will. I have confidence that we're all going to pull together and do the right thing. So let's talk about some more bad news.
Okay.
All right. The coronavirus has crippled industry and has put many emerging ones at risk. That's bad news.
Yeah.
The worst news is it includes marijuana.
Oh,
dude.
no. Just as we were accepting it as a society.
I'm telling you. But the good news,
Supply
business.
chain.
What do we got going on here?
Supply chain. We're doing good news, bad news. We'll say hi to him, though.
All right. Well, is this good
All
news
right.
or bad
Well,
news?
I guess I don't know. It's good news that Mr. Supply Chain has called us back on What the Truck.
And he called us when we were going into good news.
Good news, bad news. Hey, Mr. Supply Chain, I was calling up to ask you about this bullwhip effect you've been propagating online. This lie that toilet paper was going to be showing up in pallets at my Walmart, and I still can't find anything to wipe my butt with. Oh, he can't even hear me. I gotta get him on the
hung up
Bluetooth.
on you, and that
Oh
was
gosh,
solid stuff.
Did you hear me, Mr. Supply Chain?
Sooner, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. So where's all this toilet paper on the pallets, my friend?
It's coming. It's coming. I have heard everything from the manufacturers are 20% above normal capacity, running around the clock, to like 800%. They're just cranking it through.
Yeah.
But the problem is with the supply chain, you've got all these different pieces that need to be synchronized, right? Like you guys know a thing or two about trucking, right, and capacity, and so getting the stuff from where it's made to where it's being used, and then we're changing the lot sizes, right? Where you might have bought one roll a week, now you only want to go shopping once a month, and so you're buying 4 or 5 times as much, plus safety stock or the panic buying. And the other thing is, now you're wiping your butt at home instead of doing it at work. So it's a different product mix, right? All of this, it's creating chaos. The truth is, as soon as we can hit some kind of steady state on demand, it will be fine. But as long as, we just sort of keep reinforcing this panic, you can't feed the monster fast enough.
Yeah, so the message, Mr. Supply Chain, on toilet paper is chill out, you'll be able to wipe your butt.
Yeah, I think
You will.
I think most of us are more concerned though with like because you can use baby wipes, you can use tissue. I mean, you can find use a leaf.
Just
You
don't
know,
flush them.
you
Don't
jump in the
flush them down
river.
the toilet.
Tennessee River is always good for that.
Yeah, 3 leaves, flee, dude.
Yes.
Don't use the 3
And
leaves.
don't shake with that hand afterwards. But the sanitizer and the Lysol wipes, I think, are just getting a little bit more serious for people because they're starting to run out. And I was even watching a video on CNN this morning where the guy's like, yeah, when you bring home your groceries, you got to wipe down every box of everything with a Lysol wipe. It's like, that seems excessive, but maybe that's what we got to do. I don't know.
I mean, that's the problem is we don't know, right? But you're absolutely right. There are some things, and I think that hand sanitizer, Lysol wipes are great examples. Soap, where consumption has increased, right? We just didn't have the capacity in our supply chain to make as much as what we're using now. So for those things, we totally need more capacity. Toilet paper, it's different. The consumption hasn't changed. It's just a different product mix, and it's a different channel. It's coming, it's all got to come through the retail stores instead of like coming from Grainger now. And so it's just going to take a little while for those to balance out.
Well,
where's the Grainger stock at?
Yeah, where's that?
Oh, believe me, when I couldn't get it at Amazon, I was looking on the Grainger site, and they're back ordered too.
Yeah.
So people have already thought.
Maybe it's federal stock
I'm
and not
always
for the
behind.
states, right? Maybe that's
We need to have we need to have a strategic toilet paper reserve. That's all there is to it.
Yes. But not federalized, because that might cause its own problem. We were talking about this before you came on, because I wanted to talk to you about the bullwhip. You didn't, and we were thinking about how how smart the demand planning is that supermarkets utilize to be optimized, to have just enough Lysol wipes so when you go in there, there's always enough, and just enough toilet paper, and how attacked that gets by black swan events like this.
That's right. And, the thing that I find so interesting about this, for the last several years, we've had this huge focus on automating all of our forecasting, all of our demand planning, right? And there's some really sophisticated tools that can look for subtle changes and get rid of any excess inventory. But, the problem is all of those systems look at historical data and look for patterns and try to project that into the future. And when you have a black swan event like this, well, the present and the future do not look like the past. And so it forces you to fundamentally rethink how you're doing forecasting. Right now, it's right? It's fancy guessing, but we really need to be using a qualitative approach, trying to understand what is the true demand, trying to understand these delays, how is the world going to look for the next month, the next 3 months, the next 6 months, and the next 12 months. And the truth is we don't know, right? But we can probably make some better judgments about that than a computer can, simply because, we can think about issues like, global trade and government involvement and, changes in population and demographics.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Everyone out there, go and follow Daniel Stanson on LinkedIn, Mr. Supply Chain. Go on Amazon.com and get his books. We know you got more free time than ever on your hands.
Hey, give me some cowbell, Dooner.
All right. There you go, man. God bless. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
All right, you were telling me about the good news and bad news with the marijuana industry.
Yeah, so let's go through that. So the coronavirus has crippled industry and has put many emerging industries, ones at risk, right? So, and including marijuana. So businesses, but the good news is businesses that built out e-commerce and delivery networks are finding ways to adapt to changing consumer demand in a new normal.
Yeah.
And some newer businesses are finding themselves better equipped to handle this new operating environment. One of those is Driven. Driven has been growing by acquisition in this space. In March, it bought online cannabis retailer Buddy.
Love it.
Right? Is that one of your favorites?
Name. Yeah, it's like a good startup name, but also for marijuana, it's BUDEE.
Yeah, BUDE, Buddy. Giving Driven access to a custom logistics platform that combines on-demand 90-minute delivery.
Wow.
And overnight next-day delivery. The Buddy purchase followed the acquisition of online retailers Mountain High Recreation.
Okay.
And Ganja Runner.
That's a good one, too. I like the Ganja Runner.
So which one? Should we take a poll?
All right. Which one? Ganja Runner?
Ganja Runner, or Mountain High Recreation?
All right. Well, what's your vote?
I'm going with Ganja Runner. I like that.
Yeah, I like Ganja Runner.
Yeah.
All right. 2 votes for Ganja Runner. All right. Good news. As Defense News reports, this is a website, the U.S. Navy generated glowing headlines and cheering crowds for deploying its hospital ships, the Mercy and the Comfort, to Los Angeles and New York City, respectively, right? We all saw that in the news, these big Navy ships coming in.
Yeah.
It's going to be like their last thing before they go out of commission.
Yeah.
Well, here's what happened, though. Prosecutors, they allege that an engineer, he intentionally derailed a train. And this makes no sense. He derailed a train to target a ship, right? So a train that's on tracks.
Was this a Bruce Willis movie?
This was Unstoppable with Denzel Washington. No, it was COVID-19 with Edward Marino, 44 of San Pedro. He allegedly told this officer that you only get this chance once, quoting Eminem here. The whole world is watching. I had to. People don't know what's going on here. Now they will. That's the complaint. He thought that experiments were going on these boats. He thought they were giving people coronavirus instead of taking it away. I don't know what his plan was, though, by using who uses a train to attack a boat?
Yeah. I don't know.
It doesn't even make sense.
I don't know. I suppose if I found myself in a strange situation where I could actually target a boat with a train, I might consider it, just because he's right. That's a once-in-a-lifetime
No one would think of that one, right?
I mean,
I never thought the train would be what came for me.
It's out of control. Oh, my God.
I'd even defend against that. That's like a flea flicker. It's like Statue of Liberty play. I'm just not expecting it.
God, it's a train. What? Ay. So, bad news. Unemployment claims doubled this week to a staggering 6.6 million, Dooner.
Yes, terrible news.
Yeah, it is. But there is some good news. I mean, Tyson's Foods announced a thank you to its 116,000 frontline U.S. workers and drivers that are feeding the nation during the COVID-19 outbreak. So $60 million in bonuses to eligible frontline workers and Tyson truckers, right? And they're going to pay these out in by June, $500
Nice.
per bonus to those people in or first week of July. Sorry.
Sure.
First week of July. XPO Logistics as well announced that it will provide an additional 2 weeks of paid sick leave on March 23rd.
Stepping
JB Hunt.
up.
Yeah, JB
BJ,
Hunt.
Brad Jacobs.
Yeah, Brad Jacobs. And then JB Hunt said that it would pay one-time $500 bonus to drivers and operations support personnel. And Landstar Systems said that it would pay its bonus capacity owners, or business capacity owners, who are diagnosed with the virus or required to quarantine, $1,000 per week for up to 2 weeks.
Good. So some assistance, some support. Want to highlight those good things. And as more companies have them, send them to our media team. We'll be more than happy to let people know about what good you are doing on shows like What the Truck and the Coronavirus Freight Market Update. All of which moving to noon next week. They will be noon and they will be live, and you can be in the comment section and we will speak with you.
Don't we have a job board, FreightWaves?
We do. We have FreightWaves.careers, right?
FreightWaves.careers. Check that out because there's a lot of people that are actually hiring. We talked about this earlier in the week.
Yeah, more than you would think. And a girl, she just messaged me on LinkedIn. She was a guest on, I believe it was this very show, What the Truck. Let me see what her message here was to me. She said, Sabrina Potter, she said, so the end of April, I'm needing to hire 6 experienced brokers as they're opening a Metra Transport Group branch office here in downtown Chattanooga. So if you've been displaced with one of these companies, reach out to Sabrina Potter on LinkedIn or go to FreightWaves.careers.
There you go.
Here's some bad news. Tesla is redesigning the look of the Cybertruck, something that I have a deposit on. The preliminary designs show, the original ones, the one that I like, the one where he broke the window. It looked like a reject from Twisted Metal 2. It was janky and polygonal, but I loved it.
I hated it when I first saw it, but I heard you put down, so I really started to take a look at it.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, once I bought into it, and I'm like, my kids, my sons will love it.
Yeah.
It'll be cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, here's the good news. It was just a terrible April Fool's joke that was reported on, though, by sites like the Wall Street Journal, the news. The Cybertruck, it had overcome online bullying, memeing, ridicule, all those things you said to go up to over 600,000 pre-orders. So I really hope they don't pivot too much on the look. I know they're going to have to put mirrors and stuff on it, but, I hope that it basically has that same bizarre look.
A mirrored finish.
Yes.
The exterior, just mirror.
Yeah, it looks like a modern day DeLorean or something. Like that steel body.
It's not a good omen.
Maybe old Jack will be in the trunk.
Oh, yeah. So another bad news. John Finley from Netflix hit docuseries Tiger King.
Tiger King.
As you saw in the show, had lost most of his teeth.
Yeah, he lost most of his teeth.
Right.
Said he was
How
doing
do you think
meth.
that happened?
He said he was doing meth. He did.
Did he admit?
Yeah, he said he messed around with a little meth.
Okay. All right. So there you go. He admitted that he had issues with past drug use. There you go, including meth. So you know this story inside and out.
I've watched Tiger King twice.
Yeah. According to BuzzFeed.
Yes.
Which would report on meth abuse, I guess. John's in a much better place in life now and has brand new teeth.
Wow.
Did he use tiger teeth for him?
No, I think he has some dentures in there, but that's a good point about the BuzzFeed and Beth, because if you like lists, right? I mean, a lot of times you might want to make some lists.
There's a theme here going. I'm reporting on marijuana, now meth, and BuzzFeed. Are you?
Yes.
Are you trying to typecast me or something over here?
What?
This revelation is brought to us by author Robert Moore, who actually has a podcast about Joe's life, Joe Exotic, Tiger King, and has personally interviewed most of the documentary subjects on his own.
Wow.
So he knows.
Yeah, he does. That's actually, I just got a notification on Spotify. Spotify's doing great work in terms of just promoting, pushing podcasting, pouring a lot of money behind it. Like, happy with what you're doing, Spotify. Yeah. It's awesome. Great to have more than one player than Apple Podcasts, even though they still dominate the game. But I'm really enjoying Spotify's interface because I listen through my music on there. And now what they're really starting to feed to you, especially they know you listen to podcasts, is some really great recommendations in the algorithm. And one of them that they recommended to me, probably because my phone listens to me speak, is that Tiger King podcast. podcast that you just mentioned.
So have you been listening to it yet, or just?
I have.
Oh, you have. All right.
Yeah, Carol on there.
So
She's talking about how bobcats are wild because you never know when a bobcat's going to just like turn around and rip your face off. You know what, though? It is. So it's 1:59. We're not going to end the show. We're going to keep going on social media.
All right, cool.
We're going to keep going on the podcast version of this and hopefully the video version of this. I think our upstairs people may have to end the FreightWaves TV feed. So jump on social media, catch the rest of this, and if that ever happens, just jump on social media because we still got to get to comment section rodeo.
We do.
But for those of you,
gotta go through the rodeo.
Those of you on FreightWaves TV watching, thank you. God bless. Stay safe. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you at noon.
Peace and love.
On Monday. For the rest of you, let's get to a little thing we like to call
Comment section rodeo.
All right. Today's pickup. This was from the article Today's Pickup. Why Canadian carrier Titanium hauled a load of N95 masks for free. We covered that earlier, right?
Yes, we did.
It said, it's so heartwarming to see, this was from Corazon Reyes. He said, it is so heartwarming to see news about Home Depot at Cambridge, Ontario sent a truckload of N95 masks to Ontario, Canada at no cost, and that Titanium Transportation Group stepped up to have it delivered for free. We need more companies like these, too, to ease up the already crippling COVID-19 pandemic. We salute you both.
Yeah. Amen. I second that. Samlin.sure says...
From the article, this, and I think most of these are from that one.
Is this from the same one?
No, it's from industry
this is from
groups.
The industry groups urge states to cut truckers slack at travel plazas. Give them a break.
Yeah.
Give them a break, right? Samlim says, sure. No, we don't care to risk our health and our family's health for convenience of others. That is just plain selfish and entitled. Truckers are coming in to take out, only coughing, some sweating, and it's scary as bleep. To think they are traveling picked up and or spreading pandemics, knowing full well that they are not above biological illnesses.
Okay.
That's just wrong that they don't care because they live in isolations for their career. No special privileges in a crisis. Thank you so much.
So it sounds like he's anti-trucker there, right? Is that what I'm saying? He's saying that.
Yeah, it certainly does.
But who does he want?
It certainly does.
Where does he think the shirt on his back, the keyboard he's typing on, the soda he's drinking, or whatever he's got next to him, where does he think that all came from? The toilet paper that he may or may not have found it in the store?
Yeah.
It came on a truck, dude, and they got to stop at these travel plazas to refresh, to eat, because they're human beings.
Yeah, well, maybe they should just travel into his neighborhood store and park outside there and get something to eat and get some food.
Well, our little, he says,
Right.
Businesses that service the trucking industry should pay attention to their business practices during the COVID-19 epidemic. At one in Las Vegas, 9.50 cents at Burger King for a Whopper with cheese, when clearly all over TV, 2 for the price of 6, gouging water, fuel. I was very impressed with Sapp Brothers giving truckers free reserve parking. Sapp Brothers will have my business for a lifetime. Most truck stops now cater to the 4-wheel truck. Drivers are a nuisance to them. You can bet I'll be very selective who I choose to spend my $2,500 a week in fuel, not including food and supplies. Don't like their business practice. Don't patronize simply. Plenty of alternatives. Now, I understand his point, but I don't know if there's a ton of alternatives right now. I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah, the part of the problem is there's no alternatives, but part of his point, people should be listening to what he's saying because he's ranting and so on, and he's mad, and he's probably right? I mean, he's got a decent point.
No, he does.
But all the alternatives. But as business owners, it's how you take care of issues and how you take care of your customers in these times.
People are going to remember.
They're going to remember it. He's not going to go there. He's going to go elsewhere because they treated him right.
We've talked about all these. This show, we've talked so much about businesses pivoting too, right?
Yes.
And they're finding themselves doing. Here's the thing, companies. That may be your new business.
That's right.
So treat your new customers well.
Absolutely.
Treat your old customers well too, because look, truckers are not going away, and they're going to come back to those plazas, and they're going to be talking to some of these the fuel contracts, especially the ones buying.
Not if Sam has something to do with it.
Not if he has something to do with it.
He's going to be out there blocking your entrance.
Yeah. And those buyers probably still going to go with the cheapest fuel. So.
Yeah, that's true. Stephen Crossman says, decades ago, the truck stops were dedicated to the drivers, always gave them exceptional prompt service, taking care of their needs. They had designated sections for truckers only, but after the late 80s, they began wooing the tourists and four-wheelers. There's nothing now to differentiate service to the truckers.
Yeah. I don't know. I was
Probably a fairly decent point again, actually.
I'm a little too young for the era he's referencing like that. I guess that 70s glory days of the trucker he's talking about. I didn't enter this world until the 80s, so I know that time. Service plazas, they kind of seem the same most of my life.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, they did start changing, though. So, I mean, it is more and more to the well, it's to everybody, right? They open up to everybody. There's more and more people going and traveling, and there's more cars, and obviously you see the expansion of the freeways, et cetera. And so they try to cater to everybody. I don't know that it was just intentional.
Well, here's Jeff. Jeff has what he thinks may be a solution. He says, open the restaurants to drivers only, leaving every other table empty, doing that social distancing. We sit behind the wheel for our entire shift, and now we have to eat there also? We can contain the spread because we as drivers know how to distance and keep clean. Demanding we drive and eat and sleep in our trucks is just a bridge too far. I challenge anyone to tell me where a driver can relax at a truck stop and actually sit down. The only place I found is on the toilet in the bathroom. If I only had a shelf for my cardboard box of hot and fresh takeout dinner. Wow, all right, that took a turn. So he eats on the toilet, apparently.
Totally ruined all his credibility when he said that he knows
eats
how
on
to
the
distance
toilet?
and keep clean.
Oh, yes.
That just
and then
totally
he's
went out the
eating on
window.
he's just sitting in the bathroom eating on the toilet stall.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That is, I don't know, man. I think I would, even if I was sick of my truck, I think I might just, I don't know, sit on the back or sit Indian style outside of it or something, cross-legged.
Yeah. I'm not 100% opposed to his thoughts about having, the restaurants open just to truckers.
Yeah.
And having some type of rules in place, right?
Apparently.
I mean, we got to do everything we can for the truckers. They got to keep moving, right?
Yes.
Thomas says, I agree and have been saying it all this time. The general public has other places they can go to. There's no need them coming to truck stops now. I mostly drive at night so I can limit the amount of people I come in contact with. This only made things worse because you still nasty people who relieve themselves on toilets.
Wow.
I have photos to prove it from Loves in Alabama on I-59 north of Birmingham.
I wonder if that's the one that Jeff was eating at. Did you find it? Is there an empty box of Hutton Fresh in that photograph? That could be. That could have been him.
Yeah.
All right. Doug says,
got our culprit.
What I don't understand is that if we are the ones who are running the freight and delivering supplies from places that boats and planes can't go, why are we getting the short end of the stick? Why is everything being made so difficult? We work hard every day to make sure that the average person is able to live a normal life. Please respect us and don't wipe out our only source of food when we're on the road.
and that was very rational. Yes, 100%.
And don't relieve yourself on the toilet seat.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Now, actually, that was the most rational one. Glad we get to end on that one.
And it was the best impression I've heard in a long time.
I don't even know who was an impression of.
But it was solid.
I haven't brought Sven back in a while. What do I understand? What I don't understand? I guess that would be Christoph, right? As I learned on this, that
is
Sven can't actually talk.
No, he can't.
Or you know what, though? In Lost in the
Christoph
Woods,
doing
I
Sven.
am seeing Sven sing. They're singing background vocals, so I think Sven actually can talk.
He's just keeping a secret?
That's just my theory.
Yeah,
it's like in Toy Story, like that toys just fall asleep.
Is this a leak of Frozen 3?
Could be. You think they'll make one? I don't know. I'm not making anything right now.
Do you think?
Be all reality shows. Tired king. Well, hey, thank you everyone to tuning into the show today. It's been it hasn't been an easy week. It's been another tough week. Hopefully we're able to end it with some levity, and we'll be back at noon on Monday with another What the Truck.
Yes, we will.
Follow me on Twitter at Timothy Dooner, DOONER.
Vincent the Dude.
On LinkedIn, Timothy Dooner. Continue the conversation. More than happy to talk with you and help you guys out during this trying times. We all need a friend. Be ours.
Amen.
Yes,
Peace
sir.
and love.
All right, let's get that closing theme rolling. A little cowbell to everybody who stuck through the technical difficulties on LinkedIn Live. That's what you get when you're dealing with the beta, according to Jonathan Smith. Get well soon. What else we got going on here? Man, what is your T-shirt you're wearing today? Oh, yeah, right.
I got Autobahn from the Big Lebowski.
Oh, nice, man. That really ties your body together. On What the Truck! Yeah, man! Thanks for tuning in. It's a bright, sunny day. It's summertime. Take a walk with your loved one, but stay away from other people. Someone tried to get in the elevator with me yesterday, and I was like, no! And they just looked at me like shocked. And then the door closed, and I went up.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully after they closed, they went, yeah, that was really stupid of me.
Yeah. Take care.